If you are a returning viewer, welcome back. If you are new, welcome. My name is Amira and my channel is all about trying new makeup, talking about new makeup, but also finding new and exciting ways to be inspired by the makeup you already own. If that sounds good to you, I hope you consider subscribing, and if you enjoyed today's video, hitting the like button. Today, guys, I am doing my review roundup for you that I have been promising over the last few videos. I have tried a lot of new makeup in the last like 2 months and I wanted to talk about it. Some of it I feel like I've talked about before, and so I may not mention it all here. There's also things in my collection that are newer that I just haven't gotten around to trying yet. Those will not be included in this. I'm really strictly going to talk about the makeup that I've tried more than 1 to 2 to 3 times, that I have really used on a not regular basis, but I've dipped into multiple times, and I've dipped into enough to form an opinion about and to give you guys my thoughts on. So let's get into it. And also, let me just say, this isn't a ranking of everything. This is just me doing some sort of quick speed reviews on each product to give you an idea about them. Let's get into it. All right, let me take a sip of my drink and then we can get into it. So first up, let's talk about the 2 Pat McGrath palettes that I brought into my life, because I have thoughts. So if you will recall, I purchased Utopian Dreams and Moonlit Seduction. Moonlit Seduction I have had in my January makeup capsule for the first half of the month, and then I switched it out and I started using Utopian Dreams. So I've used both of these palettes. I will say I've used Moonlit Seduction a bit more than I have Utopian Dreams, but I have used Utopian Dreams a couple times, and so I do have feelings about it. So I'm going to show that to you now. I've talked about Moonlit Seduction, so I'm not going to talk about that one as much, but I am going to talk about both. So this is Utopian Dreams, and let me just say this, guys. When I purchased these, I was convinced that the one that I was going to love the most was Moonlit Seduction. And don't get me wrong, I really do love Moonlit Seduction. And of the two, I think Moonlit Seduction is probably the most everyday. I wasn't expecting to really like Utopian Dreams all that much because of the color story. Like, I wasn't worried about formulation. I've talked about this before. I love Pat McGrath's formulation. I know how to work with it. It's not an issue for me in any capacity. Like, I knew that wasn't going to be an issue. But I was reticent about purchasing it originally because I just didn't think it was a color story that I was going to get a lot of use out of, because even though it's very pretty, those aren't shades that I reach for a lot. But halfway through the month, when I swapped it out, I started using Utopian Dreams, and I just have to say, this palette is far more versatile than I gave it credit for. I've done some really soft, beautiful, almost everyday type of looks, you know, where you're not doing a lot of color. And the thing is that you can do that with this. Let me open this back up. You know, I stayed in this range of shades, like these here, and this, like these here. Even though these come off quite pink on camera, especially next to my pink background, they're not actually all that pink. Like, this is quite pink on camera, but it's actually quite muted and soft on my eyes in real life. And then this shade here, this bronze, like, these shades are so much more versatile than I gave them credit for. And so as a result, I have to say I was a little bit more blown away by Utopian Dreams than I was Moonlit Seduction, because my expectations for Utopian Dreams were low as far as how much use I was going to be able to get out of it. So Moonlit Seduction is beautiful. I'll open it up, of course, and let you guys take a look at it. These two are both gorgeous. I love them both. They're both beautiful, but I have to say that of the two, the one that surprised me the most was Utopian Dreams. All right, moving on to other palettes. I'm going to talk about palettes that I've mentioned before, so we're gonna get through them pretty quickly. We have Empowered, which I've talked about before. Been really enjoying this. I named it as one of my picks for great winter palettes. I stand by that. I think this formula is fantastic. It's a great like sort of staple palette, I think, you know, a palette that you can kind of reach for and you know you'll get a decent look no matter what you do with it. It's one of those type of palettes, which is very useful, I think, to have in your collection. Same goes for my Dream. It's just a more curated version, in my opinion, of the Huda palette, but also, like, again, I prefer Natasha's formulations more. Beautiful palette. I've enjoyed this more than I thought I would. It's not my favorite Natasha Denona palette by a mile. And that's not dissing that. It's just that I'm very specific about what my favorite Natasha Denona palette is. Alicia Archer. Excuse me, did I just belch on camera? Alicia Archer just did a video where the title of the video was Metropolis is Natasha Denona's greatest palette, and I was, before I even clicked on the video, I was like, yes. 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 So for me, that to me is the standard, and honestly, y'all, I'm not even gonna lie, none of her palettes that she's released in subsequent years has reached that zenith for me. There's some that I adore, that I reach for all the time, but Metropolis will always be my baby. In the words of the great Mariah, always be my baby. That's all I gotta say. Blend Bunny, I've talked about this one a couple times. So glad I got this. The mattes are fantastic. I don't reach for the metallics as much. I'm not as impressed by the metallics. Not that they're bad. It's just not, I'm not like as blown away by them as I am the mattes. So for me, I use this very much as sort of like my matte look palette. You know, like I really love creating all matte looks with this palette. And there aren't a lot of palettes that I feel that way about. There's this one, there's ABH Soft Glam, and maybe a couple of others. But I have a huge eyeshadow palette collection, so that's saying something. And then I have the palette that is on my eyes today, and I don't think I've ever talked about this palette on my channel. I bought it and I've been using it on and off just randomly, and I decided to use it today because, again, I had never used it on camera, and I was like, I can't believe I haven't done that. This is the Glam Light Michaela Pot 2. This was my first Glam Light palette, and I had to purchase it because, again, it's green. Green's my favorite color. I saw this and I was like, and I love the fact that it was curated down to such a small palette, because the thing that has always turned me off about Glam Light is how large their palettes are. I am not a large palette girl. I like a curated, succinct color story, and it was just very, like, the palettes just have way too much going on. Even if I liked all the colors, I knew that it was a palette that I probably wouldn't reach for very often, because I don't tend to reach for large palettes very often. So when they came out with this, and it was so well curated, I mean, look how beautiful this color story is. It's so straightforward, and I have pretty much every color in this palette on my eye. Except maybe Chirico. I don't think I have this one, but I have like all of these on. Today I was like, I'm gonna do them all, slap them all on there. Beautiful formula, so easy to blend. The mattes are gorgeous. I will say that when I first used this, I was a little bit thrown off because I felt that the browns were so dark on my eyes, and I was like, oh my god, this is way darker than I thought. But again, like I recommend with a lot of other palettes that are super pigmented, if you're trying to pull back on that, is use synthetic brushes. So what I found is I don't use my natural hair brushes with these unless I'm trying to deepen up my outer corner, and then I'll do that. But I tend to reach for synthetic brushes with this because it just doesn't pick up as much pigment, and I'm able to just sort of like control the process a little bit better. And then finally, I have the two Lisa Eldridge palettes that I released when she released her eyeshadow palettes. I picked up Vega and Sorcery. I've talked about Vega quite a bit. I will mention again that for me, this is the one that I probably find the most disappointing, because I do find that these are tricky. These mattes are tricky to use. The shade that is the Velvet shade, which is French Gray, I just find it's very light on the eye. So is this one. And it can be kind of hard to build up. And what I find interesting is that the shade that is considered the Velvet, which is sort of like a cream to powder, is less creamy than the other shades, which are seamless mattes. So like your Lamp Black, your Turbulence, your Smoke and Mirrors. So this is the French Gray is the velvet, and I find this to be harder to build up and to use than these shades. And I struggle with this one too. I just feel like it's a hard shade to build up. But the other mattes in here, I feel are far creamier than the shade that is considered to be the cream shade, the cream to powder shade. So yeah, I don't dislike this at all. I love the metallics in here. I just feel like this is definitely for someone who's a little bit, maybe either not as experienced with using eyeshadows, but specifically like darker shades, or how to layer shades well. I think it's more for someone who's looking for a softer look, who's not looking for a lot of pigment at once. And when I say pigment, I'm not saying that they're not pigment. They're not pigmented. It's just that they apply in a way that my aesthetic and what I'm looking for when I'm reaching in, dipping into a shadow, it doesn't give me what I want. It still creates beautiful looks, but for me, I just haven't enjoyed this as much as I thought I would. On the other hand, Sorcery, which is the one that I thought I wasn't going to get as much use out of, I have absolutely been loving. The only shade that I haven't used that much is the blue, but the rest of these shades are absolutely stunning. And I find it really interesting that there's one matte in here. It is Troubadour, which is the blue, and I think that's the blue. Is it the blue or the... No, Troubadour, I believe, is this shade here, which is sort of like, yeah. So it's this tealy, dark green, teal blue. But everything else is a metallic. And she calls this one Mercurial. She calls her Metallic Duo. And this one is absolutely stunning. You want that wet look. This look, I mean, look at that. It works really well as a topper. It's stunning. And I was just kind of blown away. I bought this on, I'm like, I really love that color story, but I doubt I'll get a lot of use out of it. But I've actually used this one more than Vega, and I've reached for this more than Vega, and I've wanted to use this more than Vega. So yeah, I definitely say I don't think these are bad palettes. I will say I said this, I believe, in my initial review, but I do feel like the packaging is a bit light and is a bit cheapy feeling. I wish it was a bit more like heavier for the price point. I think these are $65, $68 each, which is a lot of money. But they feel very light, and I would have preferred a little heft to them. And I think about the price points of other brands similar, like your Pat McGrath. And one thing I will say about Pat, for the most part, not all the time, but for the most part, when you're paying a lot of money for her packaging, you get what you pay for. Not all the time, and we know there was an issue recently, but the majority of the time, you feel like you're getting something significant. You're getting something substantial. And I don't feel like with these, and you can kind of hear it, it feels very tinny and light. So that's a critique outside of the quality of the products themselves. I feel like the packaging, I wish the packaging was a bit more luxe. CoverGirl Clean Color eyeshadow palettes, and I recently did a video doing a whole like drugstore try on, and I tried this one, and I've used this one off camera. This is the one that I've been reaching for though. I've used this a couple times since I did that review, and I've been loving it. My favorite color to use is this one here. I've been putting this like all over my lid. Even though it's a metallic, it doesn't really perform as a satin the way I would like, and the way some of my other satins do, or metallics that can be blended out like satins. But I still love using this, and I've used this, and I've done looks with just this and this, or this and that. This is a beautiful palette. It's actually quite lovely, and I was very impressed by the quality. I haven't used this one yet. Again, I plan on eventually using this, so I can't tell you anything about this. But these two I can. This one I was blown away by. It's very warm. I'm not like into super duper warm tones like this anymore, so I don't reach for this one quite as much, but the few times that I've used it, I've really liked it. But this one here, I've really liked. Get into Complexion products. So I recently started using this foundation, the L'Oreal True Match Nude Hyaluronic Tinted Serum. I've used quite a bit. I don't know if you can tell, but this is like where it is. So I've used quite a bit of this, and I'm wearing it today. Part of me wants to just keep using this because I've used so much of it, and I just kind of, part of me wants to just like use it up. This is okay. This is okay. I'm not blown away by it. I thought I would be. The first time, couple times I've used it, it was very nice on my skin, and I think it was just my skin was having a really great days, and my skin was extra like glowy, and the foundation was just there, and I thought it was the foundation, but I think it was my skin because I haven't been able to replicate that with just this, you know. But that particular day my skin was just looking, or a couple of days my skin was just looking super glowy. I think this is okay. When I put it on, I'm not blown away, but I don't think it looks terrible. It's just kind of there. It's one of those foundations where I feel like it's just there. It's not adding anything, but it's not taking anything away, you know. So for me, this is kind of like meh. Would I recommend this? No. Would I say it's a bad foundation if you're interested? No. It's just there. The e.l.f. Halo Glow Liquid Filter. I've now used this a handful of times, and I kind of feel the same way about it as I feel the Charlotte Tilbury. I feel like it's okay. Like the Hollywood Flawless filter, it's a little too metallic-y, tinny looking on my face, and I will say that this one doesn't give me that. But I was never wowed by the Hollywood Flawless filter under my foundation, and I'm not really wowed by this under my foundation. Not to mention that this is incredibly warm, like you can see, and the shade below it is quite a significant jump. So this is medium tan, and then there's a medium, and I really think there should have been like, there's a light medium slash tan, and I'm just like, why are we doing that? There should have been another shade between this one and the one below it, because I think that would have been my shade. This is just way too warm, and so when I do use it, I often have to pull back the warmth with other things, and oftentimes what winds up happening is that it diminishes the glow that this is supposed to give my skin. So it kind of defeats the purpose. You know what I mean? I think if you can find your shade and you really like that sort of really like natural glow, and this does give some coverage, it actually I think gives a tiny bit more coverage than the Hollywood Flawless filter. Give it a shot if you can find a shade that really works for you. But for me, the range, there's not a shade that really works for my skin tone. Let's get into concealers, and I have a handful here that I want to talk about because I've been using them. So first up, let's talk about the Kufi concealer, because I've been using this a ton since I got it. I don't love this. I have to say, I've used it a ton and I haven't been able to fall in love with it at all. I don't hate it though. I just feel it's one of those concealers that it really just depends on the day how it looks on my skin, and I don't like that. I don't like that on days, some days it looks terrible, some days it looks great. The shade is okay. I wish it was a little bit not as light and a little bit, just a teensy bit warmer. The shade above it and below it, one is too deep and the other one is too light. So this is sort of like the sort of in the middle shade for me, and I just feel like it's a little too light. I'm not really into that bright under eye look. This kind of gives me that a little bit, which I'm not the biggest fan of. But yeah, I just feel like this is okay. It doesn't, I'm just not, I'm gonna keep it. I'm not decluttering this or anything. But again, it's just sort of like one of those products where it really just depends on the day how it looks on my skin, which means it's not as reliable as I would like. The Milk Fluid Future Fluid All Over Concealer. I wanted to like this, guys. Everyone raved about it. Like when it first came out, people were raving about it, and now I realize that a lot of the people probably raving about it got it in PR, because when people who didn't get it in PR started trying it out, it wasn't that great. It's just, it's a little light for me. The shade range is okay, but it's kind of similar to the Kufi, where it gives me really bright under eyes, which I'm not really a fan of. I don't like the way it dries down. It looks very dry to me. I'm like, for something that you're supposed to be able to use all over your skin, I wouldn't want to put this all over my face. It makes the skin look very dry. I've tried to like this. I've used it a bunch of times, and I'm just like not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. Like even the Kufi, like if I had to choose between the two, I would wear the Kufi before I would touch the Milk one. Yeah, I think that one is a bust. I think that's a fail. That's a Milk makeup fail. In that same vein, I'm gonna give a review on this, but I also want to keep using it. And if my opinion changes, I will add it into another speed review. The Rare Beauty, what is this called? Under Eye Brightener in medium. This is why I don't like eye brighteners, because I feel like what winds up happening is they're very thin. You apply them, and then what winds up happening is they don't have enough pigment to actually cover So it almost looks like any darkness you have is shining through, which almost highlights the darkness. Do you know what I mean? This is what this does for me. I don't have super dark under eyes. I have a little darkness here, and this is where I was using it. And I just felt like every time I use it, I'm like, and I really want to cover it up. Like, I'm like, oh my God, let's slap some concealer over that. I want to try it a little bit differently. I think it was Robert Welsh who tried it, and he tried it first before he put his, like, he put it on first, and then he put his foundation and concealer over it. So this was the first thing he put on, and then he put foundation, whereas what I was doing is putting my foundation on and then putting this on and then putting concealer. So I want to see. Again, I don't like super bright eyes. I was using this more as like to give my eyes a little bit of, make them look more awake and to kind of get rid of the darkness here. But honestly, I feel like I would be better off just using a color corrector, you know? And then finally for concealers, I don't know why I repurchased this. This is the Flower Beauty Light Illusion Full Coverage Concealer. I really liked this concealer when I first bought it years ago. And this was back when I was buying drugstore makeup all the time. And the majority of my Complexion products were drugstore. I really liked this at the time. The only problem was the tone. As you can see, it's quite deep. And this is like my issue with Flower Beauty's Complexion products in general, is that their shade range is trash. It's trash. And so this is the light, like the shade after this is super dark and the shade before it is super light. So this is the only one that I could really feasibly use. And this is the shade, I believe it's medium deep. Yeah. So I'm going to show you guys what this looks like. So here in the light, it doesn't look that different from my skin, but on my skin, it looks almost orange. So I don't know what I was thinking. I think the issue is that I really liked the formulation at the time. And I was really like, oh, I really like the formulation. Maybe I can get it to work. And now that I've repurchased it, I don't even really like the formulation anymore. It's too full coverage. My taste in concealers has changed so much that, and I didn't realize how much it had changed until I tried that, because I loved the consistency of that concealer. And then when I wore it recently, a few times I've worn it, I've hated it. So clearly my tastes have changed. The color is still trash. So I don't know what I was thinking. I'm really interested in the new one they came out with. But again, the shade range is trash. Everything is so neutral. Everything has like a gray undertone, at least in the photos I've seen. And I just want them to like get it together. Let's talk bronzer. So I bought the e.l.f. Luminous Putty Bronzer, which I used in a video not too long ago, and I've been using on my face pretty consistently. I'm wearing it today. And I have it in the shade Seaside Shimmer. It looks like this. And it's got some shimmer to it, which I love a shimmery bronzer, but I haven't found a shimmery bronzer recently that I've really enjoyed until I got this, and I love it. It just adds, look at that beautiful glow. Like, I don't have any highlighter on right now. This just gives such a lovely glow to the skin. I'm not wearing anything else that's glowy on my face. My foundation isn't glowy, my blush isn't glowy. The only thing that's glowy on my face is this. How stunning is that? I think it's beautiful. It is a stiffer formula. You're really gonna have to dig in there, use a stiff brush, but it picks up, it's pigmented, it's blendable. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful bronzer. And then we have a couple of blushes. So I've, yeah, I'll talk about them because I talked about the About Face Beauty. This is one of my faves. I'm still using this. This is in my my makeup capsule for January. So still love this formula. Still think it's beautiful. Highly recommend. And then I added the LYS Beauty cream formulation. Absolutely love. Stunning, beautiful. Highly recommend. And then I have the Luminous Putty Blush from e.l.f. and I have it in the shade Barbados. And I haven't been using this one as long, but I have been enjoying it. It's beautiful. Look at that shimmer. It is, again, a stiff formulation. Make sure you have a brush that is dense. I would recommend one that's a little bit slanted maybe. It's really, 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 you can get a lot on your brush. And I actually really love the way this looks on the skin. I know that some people don't really love this formula. I don't know if I've never tried the matte version, the ones that they first came out with. I've only tried the luminous version, and I've enjoyed this. So I can't speak to the other formulation, but this one I actually definitely do recommend. And then let's talk about highlighter. So I have two highlighters. Oh, what did I do with it? Where are you, darling? So I have two highlighters that I have been trying out. One I've had longer than the other, so we'll talk about that one first. And that is the Rare Beauty Silky Touch highlighter, and I have it in the shade Flaunt. And I have thoughts on this, obviously. I have thoughts on this. This is a beautiful, beautiful highlighter. However, you have to be careful with this. Some people have talked about this. I've experienced this as well, is that it can really highlight texture or make your skin look textured when it's not. And there is a way to avoid that. One is to use a synthetic brush. Don't use natural hair brushes. It will pick up way too much product. And also to take that synthetic brush and concentrate where you want the product, to be very specific about where you want it. So when I use this, I use it like here and here, a little bit here, a little bit there. That's it. I don't do, sometimes I like to put highlighter, I don't do any of that. And I use a natural hair brush, and I lightly dip my brush because a little bit goes a really long way. You can even apply this with your fingers. Even though it's a powder, I've applied this with my fingers and it's looked beautiful. You just have to be very careful with where you place this and how much you use. But you can avoid the dreaded like texturized skin vibes with this when you do that. The times that I've gone ham or the times that I've used a natural hair brush have been the times where my skin has looked textured using this. But if I don't do that, it doesn't look textured. The second highlighter is the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Glow Glide Face Architect Highlighter, and I have it in Rose Gold Glow. Now, this is a highlighter, but I don't use it as a highlighter, guys. I use this as a blush. And let me see if I can open it up. This is what it looks like. Stunning as that. I've used this as a blush quite a few times, and I am obsessed. If you like a shimmery blush, like I do, baby. And this is the thing. This is meant to be used over the face in a lot of different ways, whereas this is really just meant to highlight. And I know people have been comparing these and saying that, you know, this one isn't as good as that one. I think they're just different. I think they're different. So this is more textured. Even though it's silky touch, it's just not as finely milled, you know, and it's a different type of formulation. This is meant to give you that highlighted look. Whereas the ones from Charlotte Tilbury, because they're meant to be used all over the face and in various different ways, like the whole point is why it's called Face Architect, is that you could use it to sort of help contour a little, you can use it to bronze a little, you can use it as blush, you use it as highlighter. The formula is a bit more finely milled, it's a bit thinner, it's a bit, it's easier to blend out, but this is meant to do multiple things, and that one really isn't. And so as a result, I feel like this formulation is a bit more sophisticated. It's a bit fine, you know, finely milled. You can do more with it. Also keep in mind that Charlotte Tilbury and Rare Beauty, as far as price point and quality, are like, and that's not a diss to Rare Beauty. I'm just saying it's different, yo. It's different. And this is when the difference is shown, and that this formula is far more elegant than the Rare Beauty. The Rare Beauty isn't bad. I like that highlighter quite a bit. I haven't really been wearing a whole lot of highlighter, but when I've been wearing highlighter, I've been reaching for that one. So I don't dislike it, but I think that this is just a better product overall. So if you're looking for a highlighter and you're looking for something that can maybe be a bit more versatile in how you use it, I would say get this. Now, let's talk about the packaging. This packaging is cheap. Do you hear this? So I said it, and a lot of people said it, that this is meant to be refilled, and I think she's eventually going to come out with refills for this, which is why it's loose in the pan. But this does spin around a bit. It moves, see? And some people are like, oh, that's fine. By the way, I haven't even swatched this. This is what it looks like. And on my skin, it just looks like when I blend it out and buff it out, it just looks like a really glowy blush. It's so stunning. And I got this to use specifically as a blush, guys. I didn't get this to wear as a highlighter. I saw Charlotte Holcroft use this as a blush, and I was like, sold. But the packaging, not just that aspect of it, but this part. Remember I was talking about with Lisa's that her stuff was, I felt like these were kind of like, those were cheaply made. I feel the same way about this. This is a $48 product. The Rare Beauty is a $28, $29 product, And I feel like this packaging is more secure than this packaging. So I just want these brands to remember that if you're going to be charging luxury prices, I expect a luxury experience. I'm not saying that this is a bad component, but this should still be able to come out without me feeling like every time I shake this, it's like gonna break. And this is gonna sound cheap. Do you know what I mean? So that's my one gripe with this is I think the component needed to be better for the price point. So let's start off with lipsticks. So let's start off with the higher end ones. So let's start off with the newest ones to my collection, which are the NARS. These are okay. I had heard so many great things about NARS lipsticks that I was very curious about the formulation, and maybe these shades, I need to try some other shades, but I'm not like blown away by these. I like them. I think they're good. They're solid lipsticks. I like the colors, but I'm just like, they're good. They're okay. All right. Like I can think of other lipstick formulations that I like more than these. Having said that, if they come off the shade that I really like, I would not purchase these again. You know what I mean? Like I just think it's an okay formula, but I wasn't like stunned and blown away by it. Next up is the other item that I picked up when I purchased the Lisa Eldridge eyeshadow palettes. I purchased the shade Sorcery, the lipstick. This is what it looks like, and this is what it looks like. And this is just really pink on me, and I've come to a conclusion about Lisa Eldridge's neutral lip tones on me. I can't speak for anyone else, but I will say that I think it might have been Hannah Louise Poston who mentioned this briefly as well, that she felt that the more nude tones that Lisa Eldridge has pull quite pink, and I have to agree. I have Fawn and I have Sorcery. These are the two neutral of her like velvet lipsticks that I own, and they both come off very pink undertoned on me. They look very neutral on the models on the website and on other people, but I swear every time I purchase one of her nudes, it just looks pink on me. And so I've come to even Velvet Affair, which can look kind of like neutrally with maybe some pink, looks very pink on me. The Velvet Matte, the lip gloss looks quite, I find the lip gloss to be more like what the swatches look like of the lipstick online than the lipstick does on me. The lipstick veers very pink on me. So Velvet Affair, I have Velvet Fawn, and I have Velvet Sorcery. And they all just kind of look like neutral tone pinks on me in varying depths of tone. And you know, so I have to, going forward, if she comes out with another nude, I really have to sort of remind myself of that, because I've found that with each nude tone that she releases that I purchase, I'm always disappointed. And it's not because of the formulation, it's just that the way the shades pull, the undertones have some pink in them, and that pink is very prominent against my skin. So they're not looking like neutrals. So I just have to remember that, because Sorcery I was very disappointed in. I was looking for the shade that I saw on the website, and it just doesn't look like that on me. It just doesn't. It looks like a pinky toned shade. So yeah, that's my feelings on that, and I just think I have to put a moratorium on buying the new shades in her range. Excuse you. Hi. Next up, I have the lipstick that I purchased from Rare Beauty. I purchased the lipstick and the matching lip pencil, and these are I think it's called the Kind Words matte lipsticks, and I have it in the shade Gifted, and I have the matching lip pencil. This is the component, and you press, comes out like that, and it's flat on the side. Very cool looking. This is the shade, and I'll swatch it here, and it's deep. It's kind of like this deep purpley tone. It was something a little bit out of the, you know, my normal tones that I reach for. I like it. I wish it was actually deeper. When I put it on, I feel like it's kind of like middle of the road. Like it's not quite as rich as I would want on me. And here is the matching lip pencil. I'll show you if I can get the lid off. What that looks like next to it. And I think I just wanted this to be a bit deeper on me, because as you can see on my skin, it's dark, but it's not dark, and I just wanted it to be a little bit richer. The formulation itself is nice. I will say I do find it a little bit drying over time. It is a matte lipstick, bullet lipstick, but I have lots of matte liquid or matte bullet lipsticks that don't dry my lips out. This one I do feel like I have to maybe put something underneath it to keep my lips extra moisturized while I'm wearing this. So that, in that aspect, I'm not really a fan of, but the color itself is pretty. The pencil is very silicone-y. I don't find it to be very creamy. Like, I'm using the About Face Beauty lip pencil today, and this was quite creamy and easy to blend out. The Rare Beauty one I don't feel like I can blend it out like this. It kind of just stays where you put it. And I like I like that, but I also like to be able to manipulate my pencil when I want to, at least before the dry down period. And I feel like with this, once you put it on, it's set, it's done. So that's my critique of that. I think the shades are nice, and I might even be open to trying another shade from the range because I do think the colors are very pretty, but I do find it a tad bit drying on my lips. And then next up I have one of the Maybelline Superstay Vinyl Inks, and I have it in the shade Royal. I wore this in a video not too long ago, and I got so many compliments on my lips. They were like, oh my god, your lipstick. And I was like, I know, y'all, I know, this is stunning, it's beautiful. This is a fantastic formulation. I think it's a dupe of the Urban Decay one, and I haven't tried that one. But, and maybe I will, maybe I'll do a comparison for myself one day, but I just think that this formulation is stunning. It stays, your lips stay shiny. It don't move, y'all. I've drank drinks, hot and cold drinks. This stayed on to the point where at the end of the day, I had to use some elbow grease to get it off my lips, but it stayed shiny and it stayed beautiful. And so if you're looking for something like that, where you get that glossy look, but you know it's not going anywhere, get this. And I want to get this in a couple more shades because I think it's absolutely stunning. And then finally, I have the two shades that I bought from L'Oreal, which are these are the Color Riche Matte lipsticks, and I have two shades. I have the shade Carmine Courage and Rosewood Ambition. I've worn Carmine Courage on camera. Got tons of compliments on that. I haven't worn this one on camera yet. I've worn it like off camera in my real life, and I like both of these. These are quite pigmented, and honestly, these are quite pigmented and matte, and they are less drying than the Rare Beauty one, which has a bit more of a it's matte, but it has almost like a silicone-y texture to it. I find that one more drying than these. So just to give you sort of a comparison of the two, I think the Maybelline ones or the L'Oreal ones are nicer. Now let's get into fragrance, because I did purchase 4-ish new fragrances. I purchased the Love Fest Burning Cherry from Kayali. I purchased the Ellis Brooklyn Super Amber, and then I purchased the Sugared Patchouli from Kayali, which I promptly gave away to my mother because I hated it. And the thing is that when I read the notes, I was like, this is either going to be really great or really terrible. And me being me, I'm like, need more data. Let's purchase. Yay! So I purchased a mini, and I immediately smelled it, and I was like, oh, no. I couldn't do it. And it was so strong, guys. Like, I had it sitting on my console in my bedroom, and the cap was on. And it filled my entire room. I hadn't sprayed it. Like, it was so strong. I literally put it in the box, back in the box, and like put it away. That's how strong it was. So I was like, I've got to give this away. And I was like, you know what? Who would probably love this? My mother. And so I took it to my mom's when I was visiting, and I was like, do you like this? And she was like, oh, it smells amazing. So it now lives with my mom. She's very happy to have it. I'm glad that she enjoyed it, so I don't feel like my money was wasted at all. But that for me is, it's a very heavy fragrance. It has a lot of very heavy notes and nothing to sort of lighten it and lift them a little bit to keep them from being so heavy. So for me, I just feel really like this. It's very much olfactory overload for me when I'm smelling that perfume. So it's a no for me, dog. Sorry if you can hear the cat crying in the back. All right, the cat has been corralled. But yes, for me, it's just very much olfactory overload, and I just feel like that fragrance needs something to lift it up, to brighten it up a bit. Having said that, Love Fest Burning Cherry, I was fully expecting to hate this, and I love it. Love it. It definitely has a cherry scent, but what I like about it is it's not one note. The cherry scent is very, it's there, but then the fragrance changes a little bit and it becomes a little less gourmand and more sultry and sexy and a little more adult. But the cherry is definitely there. Like, it's the top note. When you smell it, you go, cherries, but it's sort of like cherries with some things around it, like a smoky cherry. And then it becomes like this really sexy, beautiful scent, and I am loving that. The other scent that I'm loving, Super Amber, as you can see, I've used, I don't know if you can see, but it's like to here already. I've used quite a bit of this. I've basically been going back and forth between these two and another fragrance from Ellis Brooklyn that I like to wear in the winter. This is what I've been wearing, and I've been going through this a ton, and I wouldn't mind owning a full size of this, like, at all. Same thing with Love Fest Burning Cherry. I would purchase full sizes of these. Stunning fragrance. Super Amber, the whole point of it is basically like, it's gonna smell different on everyone, so I can't say what this would smell like on you, but on me it smells amazing. I love the scent of this. It's beautiful. It is very ambery, so if that's not your vibe, your jam, but it's not heavy. It's very much a winter fragrance. I wouldn't necessarily wear that, or even Love Fest Burning Cherry in the like warmer months. For me, the coldness of the season really lends itself to those fragrances. So that's just my little tip. If you're going to purchase those, I think they work better as like fall, winter fragrances. And then I purchased the Discovery set from Cali, and I've been using the vanilla and musk scents, sometimes together, sometimes not together, and I've been loving them. I haven't used the other ones as much. I have minis of the other ones that I own, so like Eden Juicy Apple and Utopia Vanilla Cocoa, which I also own a mini of. So yeah, I'm gonna get to some of these, but these two down here I've been really loving are musk, and this thing's so noisy. Musk and vanilla have been some of my go-tos as well. And yeah, guys, that's everything. So that's everything that I've tried over like the last 2 months or so, like December, January. Let me know in the comments down below. Do you own any of these products? Have you tried any of these products? What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to hit the like button, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye now.